Great. So welcome. My name is Ross, and I work here in the Office of Admission at Columbia Journalism School. I'm also an alum of the MA program, so I do know what it's like to be a student here. And this is a really exciting time of year for us in the admissions office because basically, we're pretty early into our recruitment season for the next class, the 26-27 class. And you're all joining us here in September, and there's multiple months, at least 2.5 months almost, to get an application in if you're thinking about doing that this year. So this is a great moment to kind of just get more information about the programs we offer, understand, how they differ, and get a sense on what might fit for you. So what we titled the session is What Columbia Program is Right for Me. And we're going to go over some scenarios to talk more about different backgrounds people might have and see how those fit with particular programs that we offer. So hopefully this is a great starting point for a lot of you just to get a better sense, because I know for people thinking about applying to our school, the best thing for anybody who is thinking about applying in terms of having a strong application is to be applying to the right program that fits with their goals and their background. So I think this will be hopefully very helpful to give you just an overview of what we offer and then give you a sense on then what might fit for you. So I'm going to share my screen in a moment. And for people interested in other things coming up, we're going to have more particular sessions about the programs that will go into more detail about the curriculum for each of them. So please stay tuned. You can go to our Meet With Us site. I can share the link a little later where you can sign up for sessions about all the programs I'm going to be talking about and hear from faculty and alumni from those programs as well as hearing from me. So those will be hopefully helpful to get an even more fine-grained understanding of the particular programs that we do have here. And we're also going to have a session next Friday called Application Tips, which I'll be hosting too. I'm going to put the link for that in the chat right now. So in case you're thinking about applying and want to figure out how to kind of put together a strong application, we'll go into more detail there in that session. So this is particularly about the programs and seeing what the fit is for particular people. And then we'll also be doing more about educational financing and things like that next month as well. So just if you have questions about educational financing or about application process, keep hold on those questions, and we'll have some sessions for those very soon. So I'll share my screen now, 1 second, and I'll start my slideshow here. Great. So as the title suggests, this is going to be a really important conversation just to get a sense on the programs we do have at the school, and then figuring out where you are at and what you'd like to do, and see which program then will make sense. And we'll go over some scenarios where we can have some interaction as well to kind of hear from you about what you think certain fits would be for people with different backgrounds. And so Columbia Journalism School is actually the smallest, or one of the smallest schools in Columbia University's system. We have about 300 or so students a year in our programs, and we only have graduate degree programs, as you can see. So there's no undergraduate program in journalism at Columbia, but we do have a wide range of master's programs. You see these on the slide in front of you, as well as a doctoral program. I'm just going to give a quick overview of this menu of different degrees right now, and then we'll talk more about who might fit for each one in more detail in a minute. So the first one you see on the chart there is Master of Science, and that's a program that has basically been with the school since it was founded. And this program is really intended to give anyone, who's interested in gaining the, professional training to become a journalist, all the essentials. That involves reporting training, multimedia storytelling training, writing training, ethical and legal understandings of the profession, and also the ability to kind of branch off and go into the areas that interest you, whether it's particular mediums or subject matter that you're really interested in. So it's a really big tent program in the sense that there's a lot of different choices you can make in terms of the classes and mentorship you'll be seeking. And it's also a program that doesn't require that you have a background in journalism to apply to it. You could, and a lot of people do have some, journalism background. Either they kind of dabbled a bit of it into it a bit in their college days, or they've worked at publications since they graduated, or things like that. But you can also be a totally new career changer who's been doing other things and want to go into the journalism profession, or you could be someone who studied something very different but really wants to get this professional training now in the Master of Science. So people shouldn't feel discouraged if you haven't done journalism at any significant level yet about applying to the MS degree. And sometimes people ask, is this a scientific degree because it says science in it? The answer is no. Science in this kind of degree category suggests that it's more of a professional training degree. So it is something that is really designed to help people gain all the professional skills they'll need to do really great work in the journalism realm, in all sorts of different areas of journalism. And we have two specific specializations within the MS program. Those include the next one on the list, the MS Stabile Investigative Specialization. And Stabile is the name of Tony Stabile, who is a very generous donor who helped kind of endow this program. So if you see the Stabile name, this is what it is. And the investigative program is basically the same length as the Master of Science program, but as the name suggests, it's about really diving deep into investigative techniques. So you get really focused investigative training in the program to do really important work, exposing wrongdoing, corruption, negligence, a lot of different things like that. So it's a great program if that's a real strong, passion of yours. And similarly, we have a MS documentary specialization, and that's for people who are, interested in getting strong journalism skills, reporting skills, but really want to learn the skills to make documentary films. And what you do in that program, and because the program is pretty intense, it takes one extra semester. It's a 3-semester program. You will be actually putting together a full short documentary film as your final project in that, and getting a lot of mentorship about how to do the filmmaking, the technical side, but also kind of the storytelling and interviewing that goes into doing really strong documentary work. We also have a part-time version of our general MS program called the Part-Time Master of Science, and that's a program that is open to people who are U.S. citizens or permanent residents and have the ability to work already in the U.S. And they are ideally, hopefully, working somewhere in the New York City area and can come into our school and be able to complete our degree over 5 semesters, basically 2 academic years in the summer in between, while continuing, either a full-time type of job, a 9 to 5 type of job, or if they have their own kind of work schedule, are able to balance that with the requirements of our program, but they're able to fulfill all the degree requirements over a longer period of time without potentially needing to leave a job to do the MS part-time version. We also have a MS in data journalism program, and that, of course, is a data-focused degree. It's really about using data as a reporting tool. So looking at data to find interesting stories that you can really report out. So that includes, climate data, environmental data, and data about business, the economy, about political issues, about business and sports, and all sorts of different types of things. So there's a wide range of ways you can use this degree, but it really is looking at data and finding patterns in data flows, looking at whether there's significant things happening in the data, and learning how to tell a story that's actually compelling about that, and also learning some really important skills involving making graphics and visuals and interactives to maybe tell those stories really effectively too. But the core of the program really is reporting with data, and you do not need to have a data background in order to apply for the program, and it will build all those skills up basically from ground zero, and you just take it up from there. So if you worked in data before, that's great, but it's not required to be an applicant to the MS in Data Journalism program. And then we also have another computationally focused degree called the Dual MS in Journalism and Computer Science. That's where you would earn an MS here at the Journalism School and also an MS in Computer Science in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences at Columbia over 2 academic years. So you'd be really like going deep into both of those areas of the university and getting the skills usually to build out something maybe like an app, some software, and some sort of tools that journalists can use to better maybe gather that information or maybe present it. So, actually doing R&D, like research and development work for kind of media organizations, is often a goal of people who go into this program. This program, because it is a graduate level degree in computer science, does require that you either have maybe majored or minored in computer science or something related to that, or work professionally in computer science for a time. So you really would have the kind of significant training to be able to do graduate level work in CS. So that is one requirement you'd have to have for that particular dual degree program. We also have a Master of Arts program, and that program, I know some other universities have an MS and only an MS program, and maybe some other schools have only an MA program. We seem to, as you can see, have both. And the Master of Arts program is not an artistic degree in the way that the Master of Science degree is not a scientific degree, but it is a program for people who already have a good amount of reporting background already. So they've been working in the field, done journalism, know how to do the essentials that any journalist should know how to do, getting sources, doing complex reporting, multi-source reporting. And this degree offers you the chance to go deeper, though, and do more ambitious, complex work in one of 4 concentration areas. And you see those listed there. Those are arts and culture, business and economics, politics, and science. So you can choose one of those concentration areas if you're applying to this program. And they'll look for people who can show us that they've done some significant reporting already, but it will give you a good amount of subject matter knowledge so you can do deeper work. It's not an academic degree in the sense that you'll be doing like a research paper or an academic dissertation in it. You'll be producing really ambitious, nuanced journalism as what you'll kind of be, actually asked to do in that program at the level you see in major kind of long form magazines like Wired or The Atlantic or The New Yorker or places like that with the mentorship of faculty in our program who are really experts in those particular areas of the field. And finally, we have a PhD in communications, which is very different than those other programs. This is a multi-year program, sometimes around 6 to 8 year program for people who really want to embark on academic careers, becoming, say, professors or working in a research organization. It's not a degree in journalism, as you can see, so it's not a capstone degree in journalism to do high-level work in the field of journalism. It really is a degree that will be giving you a good amount of historical, sociological, social scientific understandings of the way people react and interact with media, either historically or contemporarily, and doing some really important academic research in that field. So those are the main programs that we have here. I know that's a lot to take in, and luckily, if you go to our website, you'll find all of these programs listed out with even more details about them. And as I mentioned, we'll have some specific webinars about all of these in the coming weeks, so you can definitely find out more and get more details. Of course, I could talk for maybe 8 hours about all of these together today, but to spare you and me all of that, we'll do these all kind of parceled out over the fall season. And so what I'm going to do now is do some scenarios with all of you. So you're going to be able to put in the chat your guesses for who might be well suited for these different programs based on what I just told you. And then we can take some questions a little later at the end of the session that might fit with your particular, interests or concerns about what program fit makes sense for you. So here's one. I'm just going to move my cursor for a second so I can see these. All right. So this is first scenario. This says, I have contributed to my college newspaper and I have taken some TV broadcast classes already. I know that after graduating from college this spring, I want to gain stronger professional skills in different areas of journalism, including audio, magazine writing, broadcast, and probably sports reporting too. What program would be the right fit for me? Does anyone want to put in the chat what they would guess this person might want to consider of the programs? I see a couple people putting in a couple ideas here. Yeah, I'm just going to take another second. Great. So I see a lot of people saying the correct answer, which is Master of Science. Yes, the Master of Science is the right program for this person because they are pretty much coming out of college, which is great. We do take people directly out of college for the MS program, and they're interested in doing a range of things in journalism. So they want to do, some sports reporting, maybe some broadcasts, some magazine writing, all of that. And so the great thing about the MS program, as I mentioned, is that it has pretty much all these different areas of the profession available in our curriculum. So you don't have to pick just one particular area in terms of what you want to do in the MS program. You don't have to have a strong focus in one thing or another, but you can explore a wide range of areas within journalism. And again, you don't necessarily need to have worked professionally in the field to be able to be admitted to this program. So the MS program is correct. This is the next one. This says, I'm a career changer and I'm completely new to journalism. I've never studied it formally or even worked in the field. However, after working in another industry, I've discovered that I want to gain the training to pursue a new path in reporting and storytelling. What program is the right fit for me? What would people say for this one? Great. I see a couple people saying MS. Yes, MS does seem to be the right one. I saw someone put in documentary. From this particular text, I don't see a strong reason for this person to be a documentary admin. They don't mention that they, really want to go into documentary filmmaking yet. So I would say because this person is a career changer and they seem to just want to gain the fundamental skills to do well in the world of journalism, the MS program would be the right fit as well. So another MS category fit. Because again, this person is going to be changing gears. They have never done journalism before. That's okay. And the MS program is really going to be the right way to give them all the training they need to succeed in any area of the profession. If this person maybe said they had a very strong passion for an area of journalism, maybe we would say a specialization would be correct. But I would say for this person, because of the fact that it's pretty open-ended, should probably go to the MS program and they can take classes in video storytelling if it turns out they might be interested in doing things related to documentary, but they wouldn't necessarily need to specialize if it's not something that's their primary focus at this point. Great. Here's another scenario. This person says, I am inspired by the watchdog reporting in my city that has recently exposed neglect in our public housing system. And I know that I want to focus my journalism training on learning the techniques to uncover wrongdoing and to hold institutions and individuals accountable. What program is right for me? People have a guess about this one. All right, I see some good answers here. Yes, I see a lot of consistency. Great. So yes, you see a lot of these keywords: wrongdoing, uncovering wrongdoing, holding institutions accountable, all of that. That means this person is going to be likely a good potential fit for the Master of Science Stabile Investigative Specialization because they seem to have a really strong idea of what they want to do and they really want to get a focused skill set in investigative techniques. So that's great. I think people are on the right path. So yes, if you really feel like you have a really strong passion, strong focus in an area, I would recommend maybe thinking about a specialized program like this to Beal. However, I should note if you are just kind of, what's the word, investigation curious, like you're not sure it's exactly what you want to do next, but you definitely might want to give it a try in terms of doing an investigative project or two, you can definitely apply to the MS program, and there are investigative classes that are going to be part of that curriculum you can take, and you don't have to necessarily declare the specialization or focus that deeply. But if you wanted to get exposure to doing investigative work and learn if it's something you like, then I would say the MS broader program would be the right fit. But because this person in the scenario said they really want to focus in on that, I would say the investigative specialization, as y'all did, would be the better fit for them. Here's another one. So now we're going to talk about some comparisons of different programs. This person says, I'm strongly interested in politics, and I want to learn how to skillfully write about that subject. I've majored in political science in college, but I have yet to produce any reported journalistic stories. I'm looking at the MA politics concentration and the MS program as options. What program do you think would be the right fit for this person between those two kind of choices that they're talking about? All right, I see a few different answers here. So this is probably going to be a helpful answer. And definitely this is not always set in stone. So you're always welcome. If you run into a scenario like this and you want to talk to us, we're happy to chat at our apply.journalism@columbia.edu address about that more. But for this person, the answer I would say between MS and the MA Politics concentration is going to be Master of Science program. The reason I say that is even though this person is really interested in politics, they noted they've never done journalism before. So the MS program is a program that is suited for people who have never done journalism before, whereas the MA program, regardless of the specialization, really is looking for people who have that experience. Now, you don't necessarily have to have the experience of doing political journalism to do the MA program. You can change your focus as long as you've done a good amount of reporting already. But for people who are maybe interested in some of the subject matter that the MA provides, whether it's politics, arts and culture, business, or science. But if you've never done journalism before, I would say the Master of Science program is the direction to go because the Master of Science program will admit people who are new to the field and is looking for that. But it will offer classes in political reporting, will offer classes in science reporting, business reporting, arts reporting, just not at the same focus level as the MA. But if you are totally new to the field of journalism, I would say the MS program is likely going to be the better fit because of just how the programs are designed and how they look for potential candidates for those. Here's another kind of similar scenario, but a little bit different. So we'll talk over this one. This person says, I am strongly interested in music and the arts, and I want to learn how to tell more ambitious and complex stories about those subjects. I have worked as a reporter for over 2 years, and I now want to do more ambitious arts and culture stories. I'm looking at the MS program and the MA Arts and Culture concentration as potential options. What program is the right fit for me? What do people say for that one? All right, I see. Yes, I see a lot of people saying, I think what would be likely the right answer for this particular person, which is the MA Arts and Culture concentration. This is different, of course, from the scenario we just did, because this person said they've done reporting for at least 2 years. So they have a good background in kind of the essentials of journalism already. They want to focus really closely into arts and culture, journalism. So this program would be likely the best fit because they seem to have that strong interest in getting that subject matter training, and they have the background in journalism to be potentially admissible to the MA program. Had it been a little different, had they said kind of the same thing, I really want to do arts and culture, but I've never done reporting before, then like with the politics scenario earlier, I would say Master of Science program for that person too, because they can get all the fundamental training they need to succeed and the time to get, some exposure to doing arts and culture reporting in the MS. But for the experienced journalist, the MA program would likely be the best fit. All right, here's another scenario. This person says, I'm pretty new to reporting and computational work, but I'm focused on pursuing a journalism career where I will be able to find and analyze large sets of data, such as transportation data, to report stories about environmental and infrastructure issues. What program is going to be the right fit for me? Anybody have a guess for that one? Yes, the I see a lot of answers that seem to be the right fit in my eyes as well. You see the word data a couple times, so the data, at least a couple times in that person's story, seems to suggest that they should be in the MS in Data Journalism program because this person is pretty new to data and to journalism, and that's okay for the MS in Data Journalism program. As I mentioned at the outset, you don't need to have a strong computational background or reporting background of much length in order to be potentially a good fit for this, but you do want to be a person who's really focused on using data as a reporting source. So this person said they wanted to use data to do kind of transportation, infrastructure, environmental reporting. So that seems like a great fit. We'll have a lot of great training that starts from scratch to get you, a great kind of career path, potentially doing data reporting. So MS in data journalism, that's the right answer for this particular person. Here's another scenario. This person says, I was a computer science minor in college, and I'm now interested in working in a media organization to help develop innovative new applications and software that will make news gathering more effective. What program is the right fit for me? Anybody have a idea for this one? All right, I see some good answers here. Just let a few people write their answers in here. Okay. Great. So the answer is going to be the dual MS in journalism and computer science. So this person has a background in computer science. They have that minor, and they also seem to really want to build maybe new applications and software that people in the journalism world can use. And that's kind of the ideal fit for the dual MS in journalism and computer science. If this person said the same basic thing but said, I've never done computer science before, I have no background in it, I might say, talk to us, and maybe we would talk about the MS program itself, the broader program, or even the data journalism program. So that's a conversation you could have if you have a strong interest in maybe the goals of this program, but you don't have the CS background to be admissible to the computer science side. Always check in with us and we can talk more about maybe what the fit would be. But if you have that background in CS and you want to go into the direction of doing R&D for a journalism organization, then the dual MS is going to be likely a really good fit for you. All right, here's another scenario. This person says, I currently have a communications job at a business in Brooklyn, and I want to gain the professional skills to become a better reporter and storyteller, and I want to keep working while I study. What program is the right fit for me? Anybody want to pop in there? Part-time. Yes. So yes, part-time Master of Science is the right answer for this one because they are working in the New York area already, which is great. And they do want to, do this program and continue their career. And so this program is designed for that. It's ideal because they can potentially take the subway right up to campus here from Brooklyn, take classes here, and be able to do both things. So that's definitely the right answer for this particular scenario. Now, slightly different one, but let's see how people answer this. This person says, I'm a citizen of India, and I currently have a communications job at a business in Chennai. And I want to gain the professional skills to become a better reporter and storyteller. And I want to keep working while I study. What program is the right fit for me? Basically, almost the same text as the last one, but what would people say for this person? Did you see anybody have any guesses? Okay, I see people also putting the part-time, but the one thing to remember, and this happens sometimes when people will reply, if you are not a citizen of the US or a permanent resident, then it's unlikely you could do the part-time program. So this person would have to maybe think about the full-time Master of Science. However, they would need to know as an international student on a visa here, as a student visa, you will not work at the same time you're in the program. So there would not be the option to do kind of full-time work on the side of doing the program for international applicants. So if you're thinking of coming to do our programs and you are not you're going to be a U.S. citizen permanent resident, I would say you need to consider the full-time program, and then we can just talk about what options there are for people who are thinking about financing and things like that. But the full-time would really be the option. Even if this person really wants to work while they study, it's unlikely that they would be able to do the part-time in the way that it's designed for people who are already working in this city and are citizens or permanent residents. All right, I have a few more to go, and then we'll take some questions from the rest of you. This person says, I've done a bit of video storytelling, and I now know that I want to tell powerful stories about individuals and social issues through compelling reporting-based filmmaking. What program is the right fit for me? Anybody have a guess for that? Yes, seeing a good amount of consensus on this one. It would be, yes, the MS documentary specialization, because this person has, a real strong sense that they want to do this kind of focus for their time here. And so the documentary specialization, as I mentioned, is a great way to really do reporting based, great documentaries that have a foundation in journalism, but you'll learn all the craft methods of all the technology, all the storytelling, lighting, sound, all of that stuff, and the business knowledge to really produce excellent works of documentary journalism. So that program likely would be the right fit for this person. And a couple more to go. This person says, I'm interested in applying to the MS documentary specialization, but I think I also want to maybe be considered for the MS Stabile investigative specialization and maybe also the MS in data journalism. What program is the right fit for me? Anybody have a idea how to help this person? Excellent. See some good answers here. Good answers. Yes, I think people have a sense of what would be the right fit. This would be the Master of Science program, the general program, because as I mentioned, you don't need to necessarily have to say you have to have a specialization or a focus to come to the school. So if you're interested in multiple things, like this person seems to be, they said they're interested in documentaries, investigations, and maybe data too, you can get a bit of all of that in the MS program. So you can combine different interests, get different types of training in the MS program, not at the same say depth or intensity you would in a specialized program, but if you're undecided between things, that's not a problem at all. I would say to consider the MS program and come into that, and you can get a good sense of those different areas of journalism and decide if you want to go deeper later. You can, but it's not going to be a commitment to do one type of journalism in a real intense way that the specializations would require. So again, you don't need to feel like you need to say, I'm going to declare a very strong focus when you come to our school. If that's not particularly where you are at, and if you're interested in many things, that's not a problem. Apply to the MS program, and you can do a wide range of things under that umbrella and that very kind of flexible curriculum we have for it. And then a couple more. This is one that says, I don't want to become a journalist, but I am seeking a long-term career as a professor. Through a mix of disciplinary approaches such as history and sociology, I'm interested in researching the ways that media have shaped public perceptions of social movements. What program is the right fit for me? Yes, I see. Yes, I think this is probably a pretty easy one since it's a very different type of goal that this person is expressing. The answer would be PhD in communications because they want to become an academic. They want to look at things through different disciplinary lenses, and they're interested in kind of doing things with history, sociology, things like that, with a particular question about media and social movements. Really good fit for potentially applying to the PhD in communications. If you were thinking, as I said again, if you're thinking of doing this program, the PhD as some sort of professional degree, then that would not be the right fit. In terms of professional degree, I mean like getting this degree to become, the top editor at a newspaper or like a news broadcast place. That would not be the right fit for this program. But if you are thinking, I want to be an academic, then this may be the right fit. So that's the PhD. And now I'm going to do some common questions before I get to all of yours. I might answer a few of yours in advance. So we'll get through some of these because we get these so often. I want to just go over them just to reiterate some of the key points. And then again, we'll open it up to some questions from all of you. So here's a question we get a lot. Can I apply to multiple Columbia Journalism School degree programs at once? So like that person we saw in the scenario a couple slides back, can I apply to the data program, the documentary program, the investigative program all in one cycle? Answer is no. Please apply to the program that you really think is going to be your right fit. And so that means if you're still like not sure, of course, as I mentioned, the MS program is a great fit if you think you want to explore multiple things. But if you're still thinking about maybe between investigative or something else, reach out to us. You can reach out to us at the apply.journalism@columbia.edu address. You can come to our webinars about these programs coming up or to our Friday info sessions, and we can talk more in detail about, which one would be the right fit. But don't apply to multiple ones. The thing that we look for in all applicants, if they're applying to a program, is that they really feel like the program they're applying to is going to be the right fit for them. So if for some reason you're applying to 2 or 3 programs at once, it means maybe you're not quite sure yet, and that's okay. But if we admit you to a program, we want to make sure that you're going to be well suited to that program. So if you're expressing doubt by applying to many programs at once, that might be a concern. So we'd say reach out to us, do more research, talk to us, and we can talk about the right fit, but apply only to really one program. But keep in mind one thing is if you apply to a specialized program like the investigative program, the documentary program, program, even to the data program sometimes. And if our admissions committee feels like an applicant would be better suited by the more broad general MS curriculum, people may just be admitted to that by the committee. They would make that decision. You wouldn't need to apply to the MS general program in addition to the specialized program. So that's something you can think about, that sometimes the committee, and every year probably does, say this person is great, but I think based on what they're telling us in their application, they should be in the broader program so they can explore multiple things. So that's kind of a thing you can know is going to be potentially available. So you wouldn't need to say apply to the investigative program and the MS general program in the same round in a sense. That MS possibility is out there, even if you don't apply to it formally and you apply to a specialized program. Here's another question we often get, and I think we answered this a bit already. Do I need to declare an area of study in the MS program, like audio, broadcast, magazine, photojournalism, or sports reporting? Answer is no. There is no like formal major you need to declare in the MS program when you apply to it. So if you've opened our application already, you might see you just will open it up and say, I want to apply to the MS program. It won't ask you like what particular journalism are you planning to do, because we know that people may explore a wide range of areas of journalism in the program, or even if they are really passionate about something like audio, they'll decide to take the classes in the curriculum that correspond to that. So it's pretty open-ended, our curriculum. We do have some areas called sequences in the program now that are available for people who want to take particular classes to build a specialization in their own kind of a portfolio in areas. So it's not something you apply for, though. It's not a formal thing. So you can apply to the MS program and you don't need to feel like you're missing some part of the application where you need to tell us what particular medium or subject you're going to do your reporting focus on. It's going to be pretty open for you to decide and to change your mind if you need to later as you discover maybe new interests in the program. Here's a question we get too, which is, can I start a program in the spring rather than the fall semester? Answer is no. Right now, we have all our programs beginning if people are admitted in the fall, starting usually in August of the next year. So the way that our degrees are designed is that in the fall, you build certain skills that you continue to build on in the spring. So it wouldn't make sense for someone to start spring because they've already kind of missed all the foundational training. So people should be prepared if they're applying to be, if they're admitted to start in the fall semester for all of our degrees. Question again that I think I answered already, but might as well say it again. Is the MS a scientific degree and the MA an artistic one? No, the MS is a kind of very professional skill-based degree, and the MA is a degree that is going to be more for advanced journalists who've done work in the field and want to go deeper into a particular subject area. Another question that we've hit already, but is the PhD a capstone professional degree for advanced journalists? Answer is no. It's a program for people who really want to go and become academics, professors at a college, a university, or maybe work at some sort of research think tank and write types of research papers and books about issues related to communications and society. Question that we get a lot also, can I work while I'm in a full-time program? The answer for U.S. citizens and permanent residents is you really shouldn't. We're not going to prohibit you from, but it's going to be very busy. All of our programs are short and they're intensive. So you're going to be doing reporting on multiple different types of stories and with different deadlines all the time you're here. So it's going to be very exciting, but it's going to be very hard to manage another type of kind of work on the side. And as I mentioned earlier in that scenario about the international student applying potentially to want to do the part-time program, the answer is really for all international students, unless they're already here on a work visa, you are not going to be able to come and do work on the side while you're in a full-time program. And all of our programs really are full-time. So there's not going to be a work on the side option for international students in our programs. Question we get also, can I transfer credits from another school towards a master's degree program? So if you did a journalism undergrad or maybe some sort of other advanced degree and you took some classes in journalism, can you apply those credits to our MS or MA programs? Answer is no, because our programs are very unique and all of the kind of curriculum is kind of designed to build in a very specific way. So you can't really just, waive certain parts of that by taking classes already. So that will not be a necessary option there. A few more common questions. Do I need to have journalism experience to be considered for the MS degree? Hopefully I've said it ad nauseum already in this session, but the answer is no. If you've done journalism already, it's great. You should, definitely feel like you should apply it. And if you are new to the field of journalism, never studied it before, never done it before, but you really want to do journalism now, then the MS program is going to be the right fit, because that program does not have a prerequisite that you've done journalism at any level in order to be admitted to it. And we'll talk next week, if you're able to come to our admissions application tips session, about what you should be doing then in your application if you're totally new to journalism. What kind of things should you maybe focus on in your application to make it potentially a strong application if you're somebody who's new to the profession entirely. Another question, do I need to have journalism experience to be considered for the Master of Arts program? Answer to that is yes. So that is the program that does have a requirement that people show that they can do some pretty complex, kind of essential reporting already to be a good fit for the MA program. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind if you're applying to the MA. Do you need to have a master's degree already to apply for the PhD in communications program? No, it's not a requirement. So if you have a bachelor's or its equivalent, and you want to apply to the PhD in communications, you're welcome to do that. It's not required. Some people do come into the program having already done a master's degree in some field, maybe related to communications or another discipline, and that's great. But it is not a requirement. It's not going to mean that people who only have a bachelor's will have a less strong case for admission to the PhD program. Another question, do I need to already have computational skills to be considered for the MS in data journalism? Answer is yes. No, I'm sorry, excuse me. I misspoke. I'm already ahead of myself. The answer is no. You do not need to have computational skills to be considered for the MS in data journalism. If you do, that's great. If you know how to do some coding already, if you've done some stuff with Python or things like that, totally great. You'll have a bit of a leg up when you start the program. But if you are totally new, never done anything with coding, never done anything with any computational methodologies, that's fine. The MS in data journalism program, Professor Jonathan Soma, who runs that, is going to be there for people with all backgrounds and will help you even if you are totally fresh to the world of data and computation. Now, I was ahead of myself. Here's the next question I was going to answer already. Do I need to already have computational skills to be considered for the dual MS in journalism and computer science? The answer is yes. That is the program where you do need to have computational skills. You need to have either kind of a undergraduate or graduate training in computer science or statistics or linear algebra, or you need to have already worked as a computer scientist in some sort of field already, so you can really jump into a graduate program and not struggle at learning, how to do advanced work in CS, because it does assume you've already done all the work to be an advanced graduate student in computer science for that particular program. Another question we get a lot. I talked about the dual degree with computer science. There's another question. How do dual degrees work with the MS in other Columbia schools outside of the computer science program? So if you are applying to the dual MS in journalism and computer science, you will apply with one application for those two programs. So it's just one application to our school, and if someone is admitted to that program, it's done. You're admitted to the two programs. For every other dual program we offer with other schools at Columbia, you have to apply with separate applications, and those include our MS dual program with the law school, business school, SEPA, the School of International Public Affairs, and the Department of Religion in the School of Arts and Sciences. So if you apply to those programs, what you do is apply to our school with our deadlines and requirements, and you also apply to the other school with their deadlines and requirements. It might be different in terms of what they're looking for and their dates for when things are due. But what happens is if both schools admit you, so if our school admits you and say the law school admits you, then you reach out to both of our schools and we will work out a way to kind of sequence your curriculum so you'll be able to take our degree maybe your first year or your second year, and we'll make sure that it all kind of works out in terms of how that's sequenced. But you would need to apply totally separately to the other school if you're thinking of doing a dual degree with a different program at Columbia and also do RMS. And a question we often get to, if you've looked on our website, is how does the dual degree with our MS program and the Sciences Po master's program in Paris work? And so that's a little different. That's a program that we offer for MS students in our program who arrive at our school in the fall. So you won't apply to this dual degree program. You won't see it in the application. So it's not something you're missing or that's a problem if you're looking at our application this cycle and you don't see some drop down option to do a Sciences Po dual degree. What happens is if you are admitted to the MS program at our school and come in the fall and are enrolled as a student in the fall, we'll have sessions if you want to potentially apply for this specialized dual degree program with Sciences Po, where basically you would, if you're admitted to that, based on an application you would do in the fall as a student here, you would go to Sciences Po after you graduate from our program and do their master's program in 1 year as opposed to two. So basically, in 2 years' time, you'd get an MS from us and an MS from Sciences Po, as opposed to earning the usual 2 year Sciences Po master's degree. So it's basically 2 years getting two degrees as opposed to one degree in 2 years at Sciences Po. So that's an option you can consider when you're here as a student. So you're not going to apply to that at the application time this cycle. But you can keep that in mind as a potential option as something you could do if you were coming to our school in the fall and want to maybe do another degree right after you do ours and get exposed to doing journalism in Paris and learning about the European style of journalism. And then just a few more key takeaways. I'm just going to repeat a few of these things. The MS program is open to applicants with or without journalism experience. It's not necessary to have a focus in the program. Even if you do, that's great. The curriculum allows you to explore a wide range of subjects and mediums in the MS. MS investigative specialization, I think apply if you're strongly focused on gaining deep investigative skills. You're not required to have done investigative work before to apply to the investigative program, but you need to like show in your application why you're really focusing on that. Similarly, the MS documentary specialization, apply to that particular specialization if you're strongly interested in pursuing a career in documentary filmmaking. You don't have to have already done filmmaking before it, so that's fine. We just want to know if you're applying to that program through your essays, and we'll talk more about the application next week about why you're really passionate about documentary filmmaking, if you really want to apply to a specialized program like that. The part-time MS, apply if you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident who wants to work in the NYC area while pursuing your degree. The MS in data journalism, apply if you're interested in doing data-focused reporting. You're not required to have any computational background for that program. The dual MS in computer science and journalism, computational background is required, and it's for people who likely want to do stuff in the kind of research and kind of development area of media organizations. And the MA program is open to applicants with significant reporting experience who want to do more ambitious, complex storytelling. And it's subject area focused in one of those four areas we mentioned: arts and culture, business and economics, politics, or science, in terms of what you would do there. So that was a lot. I know I kind of threw a lot at you. I hope that wasn't too much in terms of taking in info. But the nice thing is, as I mentioned, the website has a lot of this information too, so you can definitely pop through it and get a better sense from all of those different pages about what we offer in each of these degrees. So now I'm going to take some time for some questions in the chat. I would just say at the outset, though, if your question is like a paragraph long, I'm probably not going to be able to read it because there's going to be about like 50 other people all writing paragraphs at the same time. So if it's going to be like a sentence or two, that would be great. And as long as it's on the topic of kind of the degree program fit. Otherwise, I won't be talking in this session about admissions application stuff in the same detail as I will next week. And we'll be talking more about educational financing a little later too. So I see some questions here. Okay, I saw a couple paragraphs. I won't be able to read those, but definitely write to us at apply.journalism at columbia.edu with a paragraph question. We'll be happy to kind of answer that with the kind of detail you're probably looking for in that one. Okay, a question about enrollment caps. Do we have enrollment caps for each program? Answer is not exactly. I would say that, especially within the Master of Science program, we do look for admitting as many people we feel like will likely benefit from our degree that have a strong case for why they want to get that training. For the specialized programs, I'd say that usually our investigative program, our documentary program, our data program are somewhere between about like 15 and 20 students per year, although we are able to fluctuate that a bit. And just for people thinking about the doctoral program, I know people ask about that. The cohort size every year for the doctoral program is 3 students. So it's a very small program for the doctoral program. Let's see what else I see here. Do we have rolling admissions? The answer is no. We don't have rolling admissions. You can apply, hopefully you know this now, is you can apply as soon as this week if you want to. Our application is open. You can complete all the requirements and get those in. The deadline to apply will be December 15th, so you have a good amount of time to do that. So there's no advantage in the sense that we'll be evaluating applications earlier and giving people notification earlier. We'll kind of assess all the applications together after December 15th, and we'll be notifying all people of our decisions if you apply the cycle in mid-March about our admissions decisions. So we don't have the rolling admission. I'd say, spend a good amount of time, I think, to kind of craft your essays, and we'll talk about this again in more detail next week, and putting together really good materials for your application. So I wouldn't say rush it, but it's nice to maybe get it out of your, out of your hair before kind of the holidays show up and kind of the ends of semesters end up, being a little more stressful. So I'd say the earlier the better, just to get it done. But I would say don't rush it because there's no advantage in the application assessment, basically. But I'd say, a lot of people like to get their application finished before December 15th so they can just focus on other things after that. Great. Question here. A person says they're graduating from college this December with a bachelor's degree, and they have a passion for writing and politics. Would the MS be the best fit? I would say probably, if unless you've done really substantial journalism in college already, like doing really long form pieces with a lot of sources and kind of contextual reporting, I would say the MS program would be the best bet. You can definitely, as I mentioned earlier in those scenarios, do a good amount of writing training in the MS program as well as politics focused training if that's what you're looking for in the MS program. And again, that program is not looking for people, the MS program is not looking for people necessarily who have done a good amount of professional journalism already. So if you have done a good amount of journalism in your undergraduate career and you want to chat with us more, I'd say reach out to us at apply.journalism@columbia.edu. We could talk about that there too. But for the most part, I would say most people graduating or soon from college should likely probably think more about one of our Master of Science programs because, it's likely you've had less opportunity yet to do a lot of deeper professional journalism, but there are exceptions. So definitely reach out if you feel like you might be. Question about whether the MS program has a final product the same way that the doc program has a short film as the final product. The answer is yes, and we'll talk more about the curriculum a little bit more in our sessions coming up. But the MS program and the MA program, all the programs have something called a master's project, which is what is kind of your capstone that you do in whatever degree program you're in. And for the documentary program, I mentioned you create a documentary film as your capstone. That makes sense. This is a documentary program. For the Master of Science program, you do a capstone, which is a long form work of journalism. And it could be in the MS program, in the broader curriculum, about a wide range of areas of journalism. So it could be about an artist, it could be about a school, it could be about a political issue, it could be about migration and immigration, it could be about climate change, kind of whatever you're interested in doing, as long as you can report that story well in the time you have here, and likely in the New York City area. So that's something that you'll do in the MS program. The MA program has a longer, version of that. It's usually about 3,000 words longer, but that can also be about something related to your subject area. But they're all kind of in the shape of a long form piece, like you'd see in a magazine or kind of in a big feature, like in a newspaper. So that's kind of what you'd be doing. It would not be an academic capstone. I know sometimes people have done kind of final theses or things like that for their major, which is usually like a long research paper or kind of essay that synthesizes information. That's not what you would be doing here. You'd be really doing what you'd be, asked to do if you were a reporter at a big magazine and asked to do a pretty extensive story about something. Great. Let me see a couple more questions here. Question about, is the data journalism program right for me if I've already studied journalism from my undergrad and I want to learn computational skills? Potentially, yes. If you study journalism already and you want to apply to any of our master's programs, that's great. That's always an advantage. It's not required. I'd say if you want to learn computational skills, but you really want to do data-focused reporting, the data journalism program would be the right fit for you because you will learn computational skills in the data journalism program, but the focus will definitely be on using the data you're finding to do like real reporting. So finding the data, understanding the data, mapping it out, scraping it, whatever you might be doing, and then also learning to tell really good stories with that. And that means also talking to people. So it won't just be about getting data from some sort of, data set and making sense of it. You'll also be calling people on the phone, visiting places to get people to talk to you about what the data has implications about, whether it's about climate change and how it's affecting people, whether it's about sports and how like different teams are doing something differently in what they're doing in this sports realm. Whatever it is, there's going to be a mix of doing a good amount of reporting with the data. So if that's of interest, definitely you'll get the computational skills, but just remember the program is going to be really focused on data reporting. A question about whether if someone has a bachelor's degree in journalism and independent experience in reporting, could you be considered for the MA? I'd say yes. If you have independent reporting, if you haven't necessarily been a staff member at a news organization, that's not a requirement for the MA program. However, we look at the kind of clips you're able to provide in your application in that case. So if you've done some independent reporting that has, multiple sources, is kind of shows that you have good, strong foundational knowledge of the profession, then yes, the MA program could be a good fit. It's not required that you have like had a long-term job as a journalist at a news organization. Some people do, and that's great. But if you can show us through the work that you're able to submit that you've done, pretty, complex journalism already, that would be, what we'd be looking for in terms of what you could be able to show us for the MA program. Another question. This person says they were the editor-in-chief of their student paper and wrote and investigated a lot. They say they freelanced for a couple of magazines and said, would the MS be better for their experience level? That's a good question. The question might be, what do you really want to do at the school if you came to Columbia? Would you like to focus in on a wide range of areas of journalism like the MS offers? So if you want to explore investigative work and maybe some visual journalism, audio journalism, long form writing, maybe the MS would be the right fit. You mentioned you did investigate a lot at the paper, so you could maybe do the investigative specialization if you feel like that's really where you want to focus. Or if you really want to go into like a subject area and focus more on that, maybe the MA would be the right fit. But knowing that the MA is a little bit less of a big tent program in the sense of the MS, and you would have a little less options to kind of explore multiple threads of journalism in the MA. It's something to definitely check in with us about, I'd say. I'd say it's more going to be about your particular goals for the program in that case. If you have a good amount of experience, but not sure which particular path to go when it comes to our different degree offerings. I see a question here about the publishing course at Oxford that we do. That program, any of our non-degree programs like the publishing course are not administered by our office. So I would reach out to the professional programs person on our website or the person who's the contact for the publishing course. I know people, really love that program, but it's not a degree program that we operate here. But you can definitely get more information by reaching out to the email for whoever is the point person for the publishing course. Let's see, a few more questions I can answer here. Let's see. Here's a question that, okay, this is a bit of a longer question. This person says they've been working in photojournalism and they want to broaden their visual storytelling skills as well as deepen other journalism skills. Does this mean that maybe the documentary specialization would align with that background? I would say if you're really passionate about doing documentary filmmaking, primarily, the documentary program would be the right fit. As I mentioned, if you're kind of thinking you'd like to do some visual storytelling and also get other skills in other areas of journalism, probably I would say the MS broader program is going to be the right fit because it gives you a real range of choice. And you can kind of mix and match your particular classes in that program, especially if you're not firmly committed to one type of journalism or another. If you do really feel like you'd like to produce a documentary and have that kind of deep training in that area, then maybe the documentary program would be the right fit. But if that's amongst many other interests, I would say probably the broader MS would be the better fit. And this person also asks, how does the documentary program kind of when does it start and finish? So as I mentioned, that program is 3 semesters and it starts in August basically. So it just started in August for our current class and it ends in August. So it's basically 12 months, one calendar year from August to August for the documentary program. And I didn't mention this before, but the data program is also a 3 semester program that goes from August to August as well. Let's see, other questions here. I would say, let's see, anyone else here? Oh, a question about is there professional networking opportunities in the school? We'll also have a webinar about that on October 10th, which is called Career Paths after Columbia. But I can talk a little bit about that. All the programs I mentioned, MS, MA, dual, PhD, all of these, there's going to be a ton of professional development events going on in this building in Pulitzer Hall for all graduate students to take advantage of throughout the year. So that includes workshops with journalists who are maybe going to be recruiting for different positions. So people who are editors and producers at different outlets. Some of them are here just to kind of network and can exchange business cards, emails with people, and kind of get to know you in case something comes up as an opportunity in the future. Some will be alumni because we have alumni all over the world working at all the major news agencies and organizations who come back here to talk either virtually or in person about, the things they do and about their news organizations. And they'll connect with you and be very good at giving you maybe some advice if you're thinking about, applying to work in those different types of organizations or pursuing careers in the mediums and subjects that they work in. So there's going to be a lot of that kind of professional development available throughout the year for the programs. And we're also going to have, just a lot of advising in terms of career development for our graduate students, where we'll have staff in our career development office who will be giving you advice about your resume, cover letters, how to apply, effectively, how to interview well for different positions. They'll give you drills on that. So there's a real range of career development mentorship you'll get at the school on top of all the networking opportunities. And so that again is all the programs. So you don't need to choose a program to get better advising. All the programs will be offered that opportunity to really go deep with our staff to learn more about how to really be effective if you're going to pursue a career in journalism or another professional field. Let's see. Here's a question. Do students who have no journalism experience have a better chance of being accepted to the MS program than people who have extensive experience? this person has experience and is nervous about that. Oh, yeah, I would say, okay, whatever your background is for the MS program, don't be nervous if you're nervous because you don't have experience or you're nervous because you do have a lot of experience. Neither should be a liability. I would say that, and we'll talk about this again next week in better, detail. But if you're applying to the MS program, we just want to know about why this program really suits what your goals are. If you've worked in journalism quite a bit and you want to gain specific, training in new areas or go deeper in areas you've already done, you'll be able to tell us that story pretty well. I think on the basis that you've already been doing journalism, tell us about why you like doing journalism and why you want to do it at even a higher level through our training. So that's what you can do there. If you're totally new to journalism and you're applying to the MS program, again, don't feel nervous for that reason. Tell us about, what is the kind of the reason rationale for why you want to become, someone who has strong journalistic training at this point in your life. If you are, changing your kind of academic focus, from like if you're a classics major before or a chemistry major and you want to go into journalism, or if you've been working as a paralegal or a teacher or a nonprofit communications person, you want to go into journalism, just tell us a story about kind of what it is that kind of is making journalism a calling for you now and what it is that we can help, give you the training in that will be rewarding for you. So either way, I wouldn't feel nervous about applying to the MS program, regardless of your background. You should just go for it and tell us again why it makes sense for you. And I wouldn't feel like there's any reason you should feel doubt if you're telling a compelling story about that. Another question I see here, what are the application requirements for the Master of Science degree? Okay, for all the requirements, I'll put the link in the chat, but you can find all of this on our website, which is really going to be a good place to pop into whenever you're working on an application. And it's called Deadlines and Requirements. And it's on our admissions page under our menu. And this will go over all the things that we will need for your application. And we'll talk more about it in the admissions tips session next week as well. But you can go onto this site here and you can find out more about exactly what we're looking for. As you might know, there's no GRE required for all the programs except for our PhD program. So people who are applying to our master's programs do not need to take a GRE, but there are some other things we'll be looking for. We'll go over all of those in more detail again next week, but you can see the list of everything in our page that's in the chat right now. Let's see. Any other questions I could take? Right. A question about kind of admission stats. We don't have like a big kind of, we don't do a big focus on these stats exactly, but I would say, as I mentioned earlier, our programs are really here, excuse me, to admit people who really make a strong case for our particular training. We're less focused than other maybe graduate programs on like say numbers like GPA. We definitely think that we will look at how people have performed in their undergraduate and potentially graduate work as well, but we are less focused on like a certain number in terms of like what their grade point would be. We really look for the fit. So the reason we kind of do this webinar early in our admission season is because we want to make sure that you understand the programs and what would maybe fit for what you want to do. So I'd say that people should not feel what's the word, discouraged by looking at like admission stats. I would say apply if you feel like one of these programs I talked about fits what you're looking for, whether it's the broadness of the MS, the specific training you get in the investigative program or the documentary program or the data program or the dual program. If you're an experienced journalist and you want to go deeper into those areas in the MA, tell us about that. But if you see those fits, or if you want to become an academic and you want to do the doctoral program, just tell us your story about why it is that you feel like this fit makes sense for you. And that's what we really want to do is admit people who can fit with what we offer and would be satisfied by these curriculums. Because we know that these programs are not for everyone. They're very specific in terms of what you'll get. You'll get a lot of great hands-on training in our master's programs, whether it's MS or MA. You're going to be out in New York reporting. You're going to be doing a lot of, going out into the city to talk with strangers. You're going to be learning a lot of the methods of journalism by doing real journalistic work. It's really learning by doing in these programs. So we just want to get a sense, and we'll talk again about this more next week, about why these particular types of curriculums would make sense for you. And as you review what I was talking about today in the session, and maybe as you hear more from our faculty and alumni in our particular program webinars that are coming up, just give us a good sense of why you've picked a certain program and why it will really serve you well for what you want to do next. And that's what I would say in terms of people who have concerns about admissibility or concerns about whether they should apply. I'd say definitely if you feel like a resonance with one of these programs, just tell us about that in your application. You should be that should be the strong foundation already to putting together a strong application for us. And I'll put in the link in the chat as well. We'll have all these upcoming sessions I mentioned that are about the particular degree programs. And all of those are scheduled except for the MA, which is going to be scheduled probably in the next week or so, where you can definitely sign up for sessions about the MS program in more detail. That'll be on October 7th. We'll have webinars about the data program and the dual program on October 10th. We'll have a webinar about the part-time program October 27th, the documentary program on the 23rd, and the investigative program on October 9th. I've kind of remembered all those kind of off the top of my head. I think that's correct. But if you want to go to any of those, go on to the page I just sent, and you can log in and you can register for any of those, as many as you'd like to learn more from our faculty. Oh, our doctoral program will also have one this coming Wednesday, October 1st. So please join us for those to hear more and just get a better sense on what we offer, and then decide kind of what the best fit is for you based on what we said today, but also what you learn in the coming weeks. Great. So I think that's running up to the hour, everybody. If there's no other questions today, come join us for more. This is definitely not the end of the conversation. This is hopefully just the beginning. We'll have a lot more to talk about, I'm sure, as you learn more about the degrees. And of course, if you have questions about particular things that maybe I wasn't able to address in this session, reach out to us at apply.journalism@columbia.edu, and we will take those questions from there as well. Great. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for all the participation. Thanks for joining us from all the different time zones all over the world. And I hope to see you soon at another event in the coming months. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.